Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Good Morning Source Gaming. I'm going to unmute everybody, and we're gonna get going.
Yeah,
Hello.
I recently went back
Hello.
and
You're on.
replayed
You're on.
Bioshock.
Everybody's
Oh,
on.
whoa,
Whoa.
whoa.
You're
Whoa.
live now.
Let's pretend we weren't
That's
complaining
it,
about
stop.
popular games that people like.
Talking about industry
terrible.
secrets that everyone
Bioshock
knows
Infinite
about,
bad. What?
No, okay, that one's fine. Everyone knows about
But
that.
anyways, the reason that I don't like Last of Us that much, like, and I'm gonna finish this thought, okay? Like we can talk about we were talking about God of War before, and I know that you were saying that that's another like cinematic thing, but there's so much game in God of War. Yeah, there's a lot of like scripted scenes, but there's so much else you can do in that game, and so much optional stuff, and so many things you can fight. But like Last of Us, it's just so linear. Anyways, continue.
maybe.
Man, we're off. We're off to a great start already.
I mean, this is supposed to be like our Game of the Year episode. We could also make it like the Decade in Review episode as well. These things are like 2 hours. We can drag that out.
We're gonna let's talk about 2019, and then we'll just jump into the decade if we
can do that.
depending on how much we complain about all of our biggest bitches.
Boy.
But hey everyone, how's it going?
Hello.
Welcome to the first Good Morning Source Gaming of 2020.
The
as
first
you
one in
probably
a while,
already guessed.
actually.
Yeah, well, we took
Yeah.
a lot of time off for the holidays. I got ill, that didn't help. A lot of us went home with to see parents and family and all that jazz. So it was
I got
just easier
extremely
to not
sick.
bother.
That's my excuse
Yeah,
for not
same.
making a video in several months.
Yeah, there was a really terrible winter flu thing going around to here that was like affecting people's throats. So a lot of people from my work, including me, got ill, and I didn't get better until like 2 days after Christmas.
Yeah,
It was
I'm
awful.
actually still sick, so I guess it migrated from the UK to.
Oh man, I'm the only one who's not sick.
Yet. The only one not sick yet.
I was sick, but not anymore.
Oh shit. But yeah, so we're now into a new decade, we're now into a new year, and we thought that the appropriate one to start with for the beginning of this year is to
Rise of Skywalker.
talk about. No.
Please, no.
I've been listening to too many complaints about that movie.
I don't know.
It's awful.
Well-deserved complaints, but we're going to talk about
Hot takes.
like what we thought of 2019 as like a whole, really, for games. Like, how many good games did they actually release that year, and what were our favorite games, what were our least favorite games? Just like go around the room and share our thoughts. So, does anyone want to nominate themselves to go first? Why don't we start with what our thoughts were on the year as a whole? Who wants to go first?
It had Goose Game, so couldn't be all bad. I feel like the majority of my intake this year actually were. I talked about this before we went live, that I spent this year catching up on a lot of games from the previous years. So for games that came out this year, a lot of them ended up being indie games like Goose Game, and it was actually a really good year for indies. And Nintendo's first party was good. We had Fire Emblem, we had Luigi. I didn't play Fire Emblem, but I played Luigi and I played Astral Chain. I know Shadow Link's not a fan of Astral Chain, but I liked it quite a bit, and I liked Luigi's Mansion quite a bit. So, from the perspective of somebody that owns a Switch, it was really good. I have a lot of games on other consoles. I just haven't gotten to them yet, so I can't really tell you. Like, I bought Last Jedi on a red box that was dying for $20, but haven't played it. Couldn't tell you, you know?
Yeah. No, 2019 was. I figured this out when I was doing my Game of the Decade article. It was the year, this entire decade, that I've played the least amount of new games that have actually come out.
Spazzy, did you mean Jedi Fallen Order?
What did he say?
What did I say? What did
You
I
said
say?
The Last Jedi.
Oh,
I was like,
It's my
whoa.
yes, I
Wait.
bought a copy of Last Jedi on Blu-ray. And I put it in my PS4, and it's another one of those cinematic PS4 experiences. It never lets me do anything.
But yeah, all the games I played this year. Funnily enough, there's like only 3 games I played. No, 3 games. Sorry, I played in 2019 that weren't on the Switch. being Kingdom Hearts 3, Devil May Cry 5, and Senran Kagura Burst. Every other game I played was a Switch title. Kind of just
That last
shows
one.
how the year is.
I did get like one of those games I got that I think I'm gonna like is I got Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, but I've played it like 2 hours of it, so I feel like I'm not qualified to speak on it.
Yeah, Sekiro's a weird because it won Game of the Year from the Game Awards, didn't it?
Keeley's, yeah.
Yeah, Keeley's, and like because weird 'cause it didn't win any other awards.
Yeah,
But like I enjoyed
hmm.
the demo of it I played at Gamescom. Back when
Honestly,
it
the
first
more
The-
I've like sat and thought about it, like it winning the Keeleys makes sense because usually the thing that wins the Keeleys is like a super safe, like the industry wants more of these options. And so like when you think about it that way, yeah, like RE2 and like Control didn't have a chance because like RE2 is like this very specific like remake of Resident Evil, and Control is like this like surrealist horror thriller like Metroidvania. Sekiro is just another fucking Souls game, and apparently the industry can't get enough of those because this is like what From Software's like ninth. Like how many of these have they made now?
It's
To be
actually
fair,
not a Souls game.
yeah, it's not really. That much of a
Everyone I
Souls
know
game.
who like really likes Souls, who played Sekiro, fucking hated it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. I hate Souls games, and I kind of like Sekiro. But then again, I also was a huge fan of Tenchu back in the day. So I feel like it's
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
the same thing
yeah,
with Basil. I don't
Sekiro
mind
is
Souls
supposed to be
games, but
Tenchu.
Sekiro is.
so
Yeah,
I feel
I
like
don't
that
mind
tracks.
it,
Yeah.
Sekiro I found much more enjoyment out of playing. Like I actually like the swinging mechanic a lot, where you pull yourself up to ledges with whatever it is, the spear chain rope thing.
Phantom
Like,
Mask,
well,
would you say
I
that
like that.
safe,
game.
would you say that safeness applies to the 2017 Game Awards? That's when
Yes.
Breath of the Wild won, right?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
that's a very
Yeah,
safe
totally.
pick.
Breath of
That's
the
a
Wild
very
was
safe pick.
extremely safe of a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, I think that's what it is with
Wasn't up
me.
against.
Why the fuck else would Dragon Age Inquisition
Like,
win in 2014? Like, in
10
what universe?
10 million sales we're at for Breath of the Wild, maybe more.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, I mean, Game of the Year for that year were Breath of the Wild, Horizon Zero Dawn, Persona 5, PUBG, and Mario Odyssey.
Yeah.
Like, Breath of the Wild was a guaranteed victor in that game. in that
Open
category,
world
and they were all
Zelda
really
is like,
safe.
It's like, there it is. Give it the trophy.
Yeah, this is recorded live. That's why we talk over each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Don't worry, we'll get the canned
the
laughter
thing
in
about
post.
the
I think I like the mobility and movement in Sekiro. I think that's
the
what it
thing
is.
about Sekiro though is that like I don't feel like it remained in the gaming like zeitgeist. Like it came out and then I didn't see anyone talk about it for the entire year after it
Nothing
came
really
out.
did. Like, I think a lot of people. I saw like a very common sentiment that this was like a very not hype year for games. And I think it's just because everyone was just pleased with what came out. Like, and which I think is fine. I don't know. It's so weird when people are like, yeah, but like 2018 had like Red Dead Redemption 2. And it's like, yeah, but like a game with that much hype always leads to people heavily scrutinizing it. Like, yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2 is like a big seller, but like no one endearingly talks about Red Dead Redemption 2. Like it's just kind of like, yeah, it's that game that sold millions of copies. We all own it, but
I'll say the games that I feel like, because I feel like social media is a great way to see the impact of a game. RE2 was maimed a lot. I saw that
it was.
out of all the games, that's probably the one that I saw mentioned the most. And that's actually the only one of the big kind of AAA games that were not on Switch that I purchased and played from beginning to end. But I am a Resident Evil fan. I thought they did a great job. But like the one that had the biggest cultural impact was a stupid Goose Game.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely was. I mean, everyone sort of embraced the meme that was the goose, and it got even into the Game Awards. So, like as in
yet
like a
it
skit
didn't
show on the Game
win.
Awards.
Yeah.
It topped 1 million sales, which is like really good for an indie game.
Yeah, Like, I think it was a goofy thing that got into everyone's minds over September. The only other games I can feel like might have been talked about a bit more, but I don't know if part of this is bias because of our general fan base, is stuff like Devil May Cry 5. I feel like it's been brought up a bunch. Resident Evil 2, Tetris 99, and
Death
Kingdom
Stranding
Hearts
had
3.
its whole month.
Ooh,
Death
Tetris 99
Stranding,
Death Stranding
like
as well.
Death Stranding came and went.
But people were at
But
least talking
what
about
we
Death
have
Stranding
to,
for a few weeks it was out. Like,
we
it's not like
have to,
Shenmue 3 where no one was talking about
Oh
it.
yeah,
Aw.
We have
well,
to,
then,
we
Shenmue
have
3
to wait
has
and
its
see.
audience. That's
we have to wait and see with Death Stranding. I haven't seen it in like 2 months, aside from the odd forced meme. That fucking Mario and Princess Beach scene keeps getting posted, and it's like the most unfunny fucking thing I've ever seen.
I'll say this much: the last 2 times I thought about Death Stranding this month was A, seeing a cosplayer at MagFest, and B, 2 days ago when I went to see Mega 64 live, and during a sketch where they pretended to be high, Rocco reached up into the sky and said Death Stranding was a documentary. which was fucking hilarious.
I
I
feel
do
like people
feel
are
like,
talking about Tetris
Devil May
99
Cry
a bit
5.
more and Devil May Cry 5 because of how like good they were, especially
I keep seeing Devil May Cry 5 being brought up, and it's not just because it's within my Spectre. I just see like random posts about it every like couple weeks, like every other week.
And that's what I think. I agree with you, because even before I got the game, before I was trying to avoid spoilers, but I was just seeing it over social media, people really liking the dynamic between Dante, Nero, and Virgil, and like there was a recurring comic that seemed to be like all about Virgil
Yeah,
that I kept seeing pop up on Twitter, and like so I kept seeing stuff even before I'd even played the game, which I think is a good sign of how much of an impact it had.
Virgil's motivated life or something.
Virgil's motivated life.
But
Those
yeah,
are great. I love them.
I think as a whole, like this year was dominated by games that just didn't have like a ton of marketing behind them, just a lot of word of mouth. And like that's not a bad thing. I don't think that's like ever a bad thing. I remember like one of the biggest sentiments I heard was when the Keighley nominations were coming out, and like also all these other like Game of the Year, like like IGN and everything, and Control was getting all these like nominations and listings, and people were like, "Man, I never heard of this game. Did this come out? Why is it getting nominated?" And I don't understand how people don't take like are people so used to being advertised to that when something isn't being advertised to them, their immediate reaction isn't like, "Oh, maybe I should play this."
Colin, here's the deal.
We're a Smash channel.
Yeah, I
just-
know.
Just
Sorry
in
for asking
general.
my fucking rhetorical question, guys. Jesus Christ.
I agree with Colin. Like even outside of our own Discord and stuff, I'd never heard of Control, and I'd never
I
seen
still
anyone
don't know what
talking
Control
about it
is.
on Twitter.
I've gone out of my way to not learn what it is. I'm like, screw you guys.
Like, and I
haven't
pay
heard of this.
attention to as many games as I can. I go to the events like Gamescom and EGX to try and play different games, and I'd never heard of Control until it got nominated. So
Remedy,
I think that's just a weird one.
Remedy really, for some reason, really wanted that game to have like anti-marketing. I don't know what it was like. I don't even remember that game. Like, because I at least kind of followed it because I like Remedy as a developer. Like, I like Max Payne, and I like Max Payne 2, and I like Alan Wake, and Quantum Break fucking sucks. But like, I just remember there being like a trailer for it, and then just like one day I opened up GameFly and it had a release date, and then it was an Epic exclusive at one point. Like it's very weird.
Yeah,
but...
I never heard about Control until there was a meme on my timeline, and I found out about Control, and I didn't know what it was. And then I found out, oh, it's a third-person shooter when it got nominated.
But I bought it for the Xbox, and it's fantastic. It's really 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 good.
I hear the
I mean,
console
it must
ports
be
are
to
really
get
rough.
voted.
It's like this like ultra surrealist like abstract. They actually have said that it is a like they have gone on record and said that it is a Metroidvania, and it's got like a very like X-Files like SCP aesthetic. It's very cool. I really like it.
So it's kind of on my list to try because it was getting so much praise. But it's also one of those games where my backlog is ever increasing, and whoever knows if I will.
Just wait for it
Did
to
they
come
ever
to
fix
Game
the
Pass
console
because
port?
Wait, what?
Did they ever fix the console port?
Here's the deal. I own this thing called the Xbox One X, the most
You
powerful
see,
console on the market.
you're the minority.
I
want to
know,
know
I
about
know.
the ports that people actually played.
Look, see.
It's PlayStation no go, Xbox big thumbs up. Which makes sense because they had more experience with the Xbox due to like Quantum Break, and they both
Oh, yeah,
have like, the
Quantum
same
Break
rendering
was,
techniques.
Exclusive.
Yeah.
I remember console.
But yeah, like I love that Digital Foundry video because the game runs like initially it ran terribly on everything but the Xbox One X because it has like so much power overhead that they were just like, it's gonna run fine regardless. No one, like, whatever.
Mm.
Can't wait to see the Xbox Series X brute force its way through stuff.
Yeah, I can't wait. The only thing the Xbox One X can't run good is Japanese games. I don't know what the fuck is happening there.
I think that's
Like-
just Japanese general consensus towards the Xbox. I really don't think
Um,
any of them
Like
care.
like
depends.
like Sekiro and Kingdom Hearts 3 do not run very good on the Bone X.
I mean, Kingdom Hearts 3 isn't very well optimized.
Well, yeah, because it's a Squeenix game.
Kingdom Hearts 3, I always forget it came out right at the beginning of this year.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
did
really.
Resident Evil 2. Those are games that
Yeah.
I sometimes forget came out this year.
And they came out in like January. And Kingdom Hearts 3 was such a.
Honestly, it feels like
Mixed
Kingdom
bag.
Hearts 3 came out like a couple years ago, because it happened, and then nobody was talking about it.
No, I think people were talking about it for a good month after it came out, and then everything went quiet until
Yeah.
Remine.
Usually
Actually got a
it's
trailer.
like a month for those games.
Yeah. But
Nomura is
feel
not a
this
good
year-
developer. Yeah.
I feel like this year started off somewhat strong and then just went completely quiet up until like November,
My
where
heart
we got
goes out.
Pokemon and Death Stranding.
Oh yeah. My heart goes out to all the World Ends With You fans, because Tetsuya Nomura has taken that franchise hostage.
No, Nomura made that franchise.
No, he just made the character designs. He had nothing to do with
Really?
anything else, and now he's in
okay.
charge of it.
And I mean, that kind of happened with everything. It happened with Final Fantasy as well, before he's now not in charge of Final Fantasy anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, because Nomura's just a character designer and an artist.
He's a
Who's
writer.
somehow ended up with a lot of power.
He's a writer now.
It's probably because of how successful Kingdom Hearts was, but I have a feeling that wasn't Nomura. I feel like that might have been the big D.
I think
Disney.
the big one, the big one that made Tetsuya Nomura like this force in Square Enix was Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's like the first game where they put him in charge, switched artists. He made all the character designs. Every single one of his characters became like mega popular and iconic.
Yeah. But that's the thing. He didn't like direct Final Fantasy VII. He didn't write Final Fantasy VII. He just did the artwork
Yeah,
for it, and he didn't even
Tetsuya
do the art on his
Nomura
own. because
has
Yusuke
taken
Naoki
everything
Naoru also
hostage.
did the art for it.
There's a universe out there where Xenogears was Final Fantasy VII, and I'd like to live in that universe just to see how things went.
So bizarre.
Yeah, Xenogears is so weird because it was almost Final Fantasy VII, and then it was almost Chrono Cross, and then they're like, "Nah, man, this thing's weird. Just call it Xenogears."
It led to Monolith just embracing the Xeno name, and If it
But
became
they're
a
really
Final
stuck on
Fantasy game,
that.
potentially we would never get Xenosaga and Xenoblade. So
This is very off topic, but like I just
Oh,
opened
yeah.
up Nintendo Life,
Mhm.
and they just published an article called Nintendo Switch ports we'd love to see in 2020. And like it's just like every third party game that's ever been made. It's like Outer Wilds, Nier Automata, Persona 5, Resident Evil 2, Control. But then like the very last one is Metroid Prime trilogy, and all the comments are like, I don't know any of these games, I just want Metroid. And it's like the absolute
God.
state of Nintendo fans.
Hey guys,
Yeah.
am I the only one that's upset that a game called Outer Wilds and a game called Outer Worlds came out the same year? Because sometimes people talk about one and I think they're talking about the other, and then I'm like, oh yeah.
I'm a piece of shit. I really like the Outer Worlds because it's like it's like Fallout 3 2. I wouldn't say it's Fallout New Vegas 2, it's Fallout 3 2 because it's a lot more like simplified. But like and I stopped myself from playing more because I know there's a Switch port coming in the next 2 months and I want to be like in bed and play Outer Worlds comfy because that's how I played Fallout back in the day. But like that's a good game. That's a really good game, and everyone kind of stopped talking about it like the week after it came out because everyone else was playing Modern Warfare 2019.
It's
Yeah,
a game
I want to play that one. I do because I really enjoyed the Fallout 3 in New
I
Vegas.
I feel like there's like less overlap than you think between the Outer Worlds and Call of Duty.
No, I don't think that there's. What I'm saying is I don't think there's like as much of an overlap, but like as far as like general, I don't know about that. I would say like the people who are into like your Skyrims are also like just there are people out there that just generally play new AAA games, and like Call of Duty was like clearly the bigger AAA game there.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
like
there's-
the people who
we
play
like to
the Outer
call-
Worlds are the people who liked New Vegas.
I mean, I get that, but I get what Colin's saying because we like to. People talk about casual and hardcore gamers, but there's, there's a type of gamer which, to confuse people, I'm going to call them the casual core gamer, who are people that own an Xbox or a PS4, more likely a PS4 nowadays,
Yeah,
and all they play are like 6 games a year, and it's whatever is the most advertised and biggest game that's out. Like,
I actually
it.
it's actually really funny. I think
and
like
maybe a sports game.
I think Call of Duty got like a slight boost in sales this year, at least within like a large the large group of like circle of people I follow, because it has cross-platform play. So more people were willing to pick it up on like literally any platform because they could just play with anyone else that owned the game. Which is badass. More games should do that. Cross-platform play is a good feature.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see because Xbox strategy, I guess, going forward is that we're not a video game box. We're a series of phones. Like they're using that business model
Yeah.
where they're like, hey, if you have an old Xbox or any of our Series X, you can play the game. You know, like with PC specs scaled up or scaled down. I'm sure there's going to be games that are only going to run on the Series X eventually, but
Yeah.
it'll be interesting how they do cross-platform play. I think that in some ways, for third parties, that might elongate the life of the Switch because if they're going for lower specs or very scalable specs, that
Yeah.
might make it so that some third-party games. I mean, they'll run terrible, but can be ported to the.
I
Switch.
think
on
we
Twitch.
won't see much other than the odd like Bethesda or Unreal Engine 4 port.
Yeah.
I think it
Like,
depends.
We get like very, very weird special cases like The Witcher 3 where everything was retuned from the ground up to make a Switch version. But that system can't run a lot of the big AAA games that are coming out on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One now.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't, like, you know, stuff like anything Square Enix makes. To be honest, like Final Fantasy VII remake,
We
won't
got-
run on Switch.
We got the fucking pocket edition of Final Fantasy 15. That should say enough.
I mean, everyone got the pocket edition of Final Fantasy.
I know, but
15.
we got that and not any version of Final Fantasy 15.
I
Which,
think
granted, that game runs horribly and is on a really bad engine, but still.
I think as long as there's like, I think as long as like I think if like stuff continues to use like UE4 or like very standard engines that have support for the Switch, like I think those will always be in the running of being totally fine.
We'll see Unreal Engine 4 ports. We'll see like Unity ports.
Yeah, like I remember there was what was it, like someone posted recently about how like Hellblade 2 well because they said recently like, oh, the first year of like Series X, Xbox Series X exclusives will be like also on the Xbox One. And a lot of people are saying like, oh, does that mean like the really good graphics of the Hellblade 2 trailer were a lie? And it's like, no, it's just that like the Series X is probably getting like the highest end version of Hellblade 2, while the Xbox will be getting like one will get something closer to what
also,
like standard UE4 looks like.
Also, the footage we saw of Hellblade was cutscenes, and we can already get like very high fidelity cutscenes. We have Devil May Cry 5, we have Resident Evil 2, which have like mid 2000s, late 2000s, like CG level quality cutscenes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about like our favorite and least favorite games from the past year, what we've played and stuff like that. What do we think we'd rather start with, least favorite or most favorite?
Do we want to like go?
Let's start with the bad. Let's start
go negative, so then we can
start with the bad.
we can like talk about things we like later.
Yeah.
Let's start with the negatives.
This is where Shadow Link's gonna get yelled at for Astral Chain. I'm very excited.
Let's find this out. Yeah, go on, Shadow Link. You go first. What was your least favorite game this year?
My least favorite game this year was the Switch port of Saints Row 3.
That's very.
It was
fair.
Astral Chain.
Yeah.
It was Astral Chain. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever looked forward to something like and gotten let down so much by the same thing. I was really looking forward to Astral Chain. I like Platinum Games. I love Metal Gear Rising. I like Bayonetta. They have a good track record, except there's some bad games. They made some bad games recently, but typically when they make a third-person action game, it's generally at least like passable. And Astral Chain was passable, but the way that they were like advertising it and hyping it up, it seemed more than that. I was expecting more than just a decent game, and I was let down because I'd spent like the most of the year playing like other action games in like on the Switch and off the Switch. I played Travis Strikes Again, which has really, really like basic combat, but it's like everything is like held up by this really interesting narrative and this crazy sense of humor that like raises that title so much more than just its basic gameplay can do. And I Devil May Cry 5 is like the perfect action game, especially when it hands you all the tools that you get to play with. And going from those two extremes, like really good story, really interesting game, just in general, also really good story, really good game, really interesting game. Just going from that to just okay with an awful fucking story, really just like gave me whiplash. I spent like a month rewriting my Astral Chain review because I was writing it as I was playing the game. I started out the first thing about Astral Chain is that like the first 2 chapters are fucking terrible. That's like the only time where the game is legitimately terrible. But once the game like gives you the
I like
combat
that
system,
I like that
once the
opening a
game
lot.
gives you the combat system to actually use, it gets a lot better. So I was focusing on how like this game's really good, but the intro was bad. But then like the game kept going, and I just didn't like it. The biggest thing I was focused on for the longest time with the game before I realized, yeah, I just don't like it, was that I was going to make a comment about, wow, it's really refreshing to play an action game where the story is just fucking stupid. But I changed course because I was gonna go hard on the whole game, so like going that hard on anything would have probably sent some people, like some angry people, into my comment section. But yeah, I disliked Astral Chain. I did not like it. I can acknowledge that it's a good game, but like having something that's so much like in the vein of something I would like, and just like not liking it because of like basic missing features like it lacked a jump. There's no fucking jump button.
Oh wow, you could have jumped in that game. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily think you need to jump in that game.
I don't think
but
so
we've
either,
had-
because,
we've
yeah,
had this conversation
there's aerial
before.
combat.
Because you have
There's aerial
your-
combat though.
but your
But
guy
you
can
don't
yank
chain your
you.
way up into it.
Yeah,
But it's
exactly.
inconsistent. It would be so much easier if you could just press a button to jump.
Yeah,
And
I-
there would
I-
be more depth if you could jump instead of just doing the launch.
I personally kind of liked the simplicity of the mechanics and how everything was really tied up with the
Yeah, Astral
chain
Chain
and
is
all
very simplistic, and I guess that makes it a really good like gateway for people who don't typically play action games, which is why I see a lot of Nintendo fans really liking Astral Chain, but I see most like Platinum Games fans and action game fans kind of being
It was a different
middling
take.
about it, like
I
kind of
bought the-
being
Yeah,
on the fence or
I get
not
it.
liking it.
I get it.
It's very simple. It's very, 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 very. It's more simple than the original Devil May Cry, and that's like really, really weird to think
but
about.
it wasn't simple in the way that I guess I'm about to. It was like all the combos are one button basically, but it was trying to do something really different with the mechanics, with controlling your dude with the second stick and all of that stuff. So I applauded at least for trying something different. But I mean, I understand your take on it. I don't personally agree, but I definitely get where you're coming from.
Oh, and the fuck, what do they call it in that game? The Legion system
Legions.
felt really, really limp to me after playing Devil May Cry 5 and having a similar mechanic where you control not one, but 2 pawns to do your bidding. And there's just so much more depth in like every other action game that I play. Astral Chain is like one of the most simple action games, and that's okay if it had other things to like compensate for that, but the game is so heavily like focused on the combat. It's so combat focused, and it's trying so hard to be cool and trying so hard to give you set pieces to interact with your combat, and it just doesn't stick the landing for me. Not at all.
What I liked the little detective sections and stuff, but I felt like the game also felt a little segmented in that you had your combat sections, and then you have your running around the police department sections, and then you have your going around the scene and trying to find stuff sections. I felt it could have been mixed up a little bit, but I personally did like that game a lot. My game that was kind of the worst game for me is a game I reviewed for Source Gaming, and I actually gave it 3.5 stars, so it might not seem like it was the worst game for me.
In the gaming spectrum, Spazzy, that's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Like at
Three and a
middle
half,
of the road.
Jesus, yeah. Well, it's because okay. So first of all, it's Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3: The Black Order, and the reason is because the ways in which this game fails are the entire reasons you played this game. That was a problem. Like it had a fun fan servicey Marvel story. If you like Marvel games and like Marvel comics, it was fun. They had a lot of characters from all different parts of Marvel, of Marvel's pantheon of heroes or whatever. The voice acting was good. The gameplay was okay, but it didn't need to be great. It's it's Baldur's Gate. You just power up and you beat stuff up and you just keep going. But the reason you play any of the Ultimate Alliance games and was because of multiplayer, especially kind of the couch co-op. Like you want to be able to play with your friends, and the camera was so bad that you couldn't tell what was going on. It was just the worst camera, and I don't know how you let that happen in a game like this. It was literally unplayable with more than one person, which means you either have to play it online, which I guess is fine. But it's not as much fun unless you have people there. There's some games with co-op that you definitely get a lot out of online, some that you just don't as much. And the online wasn't that great either, to be honest with you. And the other thing was the leveling system was so bad that it was, if you went back and you did, I don't remember what they were called, but the little challenges and stuff, and you went back to play levels again, it was fine. But when you were playing through the story the first time, if you switched out your heroes a lot, you were always underleveled, and the game was way too hard for what it was. So it was so counterintuitive to how, because it's supposed to be like a mindless, like, beat 'em up, like, yeah, there's some challenge, but it's the point of this sort of game is I'm supposed to have my friends over, even play with my friends online, and we pick our favorite heroes and we just goof around and we go through and we see all these villains and scenarios and areas from Marvel Comics. But it made it so hard to do that. So even though it was a solid game, I know some people didn't. I like the art style, I like the way the game looked. It ran fine. The mechanics worked. The story was fun. But if I can't play it well in multiplayer, then what was the point of the game?
I get that. I remember playing that game and not being a massive fan of it. We played it 4-player together.
Yeah, that was the thing. If you play it 4 players, it's terrible.
The camera is terrible.
And if you went back and played that by yourself, you'd be like, "Oh, okay, I get it," because I can follow the action and what's going on. But then the whole point of that game is I want to play that with my friends.
Yeah, for sure.
I played. It's really funny. I actually played like a lot more bad games than I thought I did. I just I forgot all of the bad ones. So Rage 2, Left Alive, Jump Force, those have all just completely left my mind.
Jump Force. Ooh, yeah.
Well, Jump Force maybe not so much because I played it for the first time like a week ago on Game Pass, and that game is such a beautiful mess. It's it's the fucking Cats of video games. It's just this beautiful mess. I think the worst just overall objectively game I played this year would have been Crackdown 3, which would also be in for worst Xbox exclusive because it's just such a pile of shit. But if you were to ask me what I think my personal overall worst game of the year was, it would have to be Team Sonic Racing, because that is a game that should just not exist. There is no reason for Team Sonic Racing to exist.
And it's a follow-up to a good game. That's the worst part.
It is a downgrade from a video game from 2012. I don't care if this is supposed to be a $40 budget title. You cannot release a game with less mechanics, less maps, less characters, and just when all everybody wanted was the same game from 2012 at a higher resolution with 2 more characters in it.
With more stuff. Give us more maps, more characters. Done.
It's not
collection's really bad. I don't mind them turning the Sonic characters, but it's the most basic ass Sonic characters as well.
Like, I
There's
think there is
nothing special about it.
and I mean, the concept of like a game being worse than a previous installment is not uncommon, but when like the difference isn't like, oh, Team Sonic Racing is just kind of worse than Transformed. I wish they had done more like Transformed. No, it's like this game is such a downgrade from not only the previous one, but the one before it, the original Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, but also like compared to anything else you can buy on the market right now, like your Mario Kart 8 Deluxe or Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, like literally compared to anything else that has been released in the last 10 years of kart racing. Fucking Garfield kart's probably better. Like,
No,
it's...
no,
I disagree on that.
no.
Shut the fuck up, it totally is. Like, this game, like, at
No.
least Garfield kart has a reason to exist.
What?
Because it's like, yeah, because the developers... No, hear me out, because at least they're making a new game. They just made a new kart racer, but with Garfield in it. This is just a shitty version of two games that already exist. But
I'm sorry,
far
the
worse.
the second Garfield kart is literally the first Garfield kart, again with slightly improved graphics and nothing else.
Yeah,
Garfield
but that's
Kart
all
is
that everybody
fucking
wanted out of
garbage.
Sonic Racing as well. At least they gave us, at least they gave the Garfield kart fans what they wanted. At least like,
But Garfield Kart is actually bad.
yeah, Team Sonic Racing's not good. If you
And
own,
being not good is worse than being bad, because if it's
no,
bad, you know
exactly.
it's bad.
Because hear me out. Because hear me fucking out. You don't have to buy Garfield kart twice. If you own Sonic and All Stars Racing Transformed on Steam, there is no fucking reason at all to buy Team Sonic Racing for $40. If you've never bought Sonic All Stars Racing Transformed on PC, you should. It's $5 and it comes with way more stuff. If you own an Xbox 360, if you own a PS3, if you own a Wii U, if you own that fucking game, like, it's way better than Team Sonic Racing in every way, shape, and form. It just like there's no reason for Team Sonic Racing to fucking exist.
Hello
It is the
Kitty
most
Racing.
It is the most milk
Pretty
toast bullshit thing ever. I hate it. I hate it
Yeah,
so
Hello Kitty
much.
card, man.
Hell yeah, Hello Kitty cards.
I think we should have a special award for games that we that came and went like a fart in the wind, and we don't even remember. I'm gonna say Days Gone. Days
Days
Gone.
Gone, yeah.
Yeah.
That was Days Gone kind of came back into my zeitgeist yet the other day because someone started talking about it.
I have
Suddenly, out
between
of nowhere.
Days Gone or if you're a Nintendo fan, Daemon X Machina. Those are the two games that are like. So
I
yeah.
started playing Daemon X Machina.
I think
right now.
wait. Was Yoshi Crafted World this year?
Was this year, and I was
That's it. It's not Daemon X Machina. It's
Yeah, that
Yoshi's
is-
Crafted World.
Yoshi's Crafted World is the Nintendo Days Gone.
Yeah.
I'm glad you
Excellent.
mentioned that 'cause I don't know. So I've been like sitting here looking over my list, and I'm not quite sure which one I would say is the worst game because there are some that are like I didn't finish because I got bored of stuff like Dragon Quest Builders 2.
Oh
and
yeah.
NeoCab, I just got really bored of playing. So,
It's
but
too
I
much
don't
of
know
a
if I
time sink. It's
It is
too
so
much
much
of
of a
like
time.
a yeah.
This is the thing, right? It's a big time sink, and I didn't finish it, so I don't. But I don't know if I would say it's my least favorite game, and I don't think there's any game from this year that I didn't enjoy playing. But if I had to be disappointed about a game, it's gonna fall between Kingdom Hearts 3 and Yoshi's Crafted World, and I'm kind of leaning towards Yoshi's Crafted World because I love the Yoshi series, and I was already beaten to a pulp by Yoshi's New Island in how terrible that game is. And then Woolly World kind of saved me by being an actual return to form for the series and being like a really good platforming game, a really good Yoshi game. It's got a few flaws here and there that prevent it from being better than the original game, but it was still really good. And Crafted World just feels like a lesser version of Woolly World. The
Yeah.
music's not as good. The graphics are. I don't even think the graphics are as good. There are some nice, like, stylish visuals with everything being made out of cardboard. It's cute, and there are less obtuse secrets in Yoshi's Crafted World, whereas Woolly World had loads of obnoxious secrets to find. but there's also like less mechanics in Crafted World, and there's less levels, and the game just makes you to drag out the length. It makes you just repeat levels over and over again. Like you do them in one way, and then you go to reverse, and you could do them in the other way. You find the 3 Poochie pups one way, you find them again the other way. You have to find and you can't. What really bugs me is you can't do all the collectibles at once. The game has such an obnoxious amount of collectibles. Or almost curious if it's got more than Donkey Kong 64 does. Like, it's a ton, and it only lets you get them at like one at a time. Like you speak to a guy and he goes, "Oh, can you find this thing in the level for me?" So you go and do it. You play through the whole level, find it, go back to him, and he's like, "Oh, thanks. Now can you find this in the exact same level again for me? Can you find 5 of these?" And it's just repeating the same level over and over again. There are some levels you play like 7 times, the same thing. Nothing changes. You're just searching for one object, and it's terrible. It just feels like it's an old NES game in how they've padded out the length. Like it's actually a short game, but they make you do a bunch of bullshit to keep it going.
But okay, here's my question though: is the game worth $1 for when Amazon accidentally?
Oh
sells
yes,
$1?
the game is definitely worth $1. I mean, the game is still good. I still enjoyed my time with like the core game, but it's like a step back from what came before it, with less mechanics and more nonsense bullshit added on top of it, and there's no reason for it to be like that. Am I coming off as quiet? Someone said in the chat, "Why do I?"
I tried to turn you up, and then you like pierced my ears, so I don't know.
I feel like you're fine, but I don't know.
I would say just like keep a consistent distance from your mic.
I haven't changed mic distance, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
I mean,
Thanks,
I'll say, because a bunch of people are talking about it in chat. Like, I'll just reiterate one thing about Team Sonic Racing real quick, and that is that like, I just think I think its biggest offense is the fact that there is no reason why it should be a new game. Like, I don't like. There was no reason why they had to put forth the effort in making a new game. That is like, it's not new. The team mechanic is not like a unique enough mechanic enough to like warrant them making a new game, when really all they could have done was just port like an 8-year-old game at this point, and like it would have been a much better product. And if you already have it's almost like when you buy a remaster on a platform where you can play the original and the remaster is worse. It's like it's like when you buy like Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered and it's worse than the original PC release, or like the Silent Hill HD collection. Like why wouldn't you just play the original? It's better. There's more stuff. Like what? Like why? And it's like it's just worse than anything else that you can buy on even the Switch, because like it runs worse than Mario Kart, and it's not nearly as good as like Crash Team Racing. So it's like what's the point? Like, even if you're just like a kart racing fan and you just wanted a new kart racer, it's like, well, you're getting gypped.
I wanna.
It's definitely that comes out came out next to Crash Team Racing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, Jesus, that's a way to send your game out to die. Although I'm glad they did play it, because when I remember playing it at Gamescom and it just played awfully as well. Like, at least the one thing they changed from when it was in development is that it actually doesn't play terribly. Like, I mean, it's still like, I agree with everything you say, Colin, but it doesn't play as bad as it did.
But like at its like at its best, it just plays like the previous games, but without anything that made those games special. Like it doesn't have like it has some of the power-ups. It has the drifting. It has this terrible team mechanic. Like it's just like, okay.
The thing about Team Sonic Racing though is that it still has like the absolutely stellar, excellent control that the Sega racing games had. Like, that is above and beyond like the best racing game, kart racing game control scheme like on the market. It just feels so good.
Yeah, but at that point, like, just buy the other one.
I can't play the other one on Switch.
Well, then, oh well, play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Listen. This is Colin's
Mario
opinion.
Kart
We
8
didn't we didn't all say
feels
why we loved
worse.
Astral Chain. Let's move.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
I mean,
Alright,
shit, Mario
so-
Kart 8 took, like, notes from Sonic All-Stars Racing Transform. It's that fucking good.
Let's move
All right,
on.
all right. Let's move on to the best. Well, all right, the best games
Okay.
of our favorite games. I mean, we may as well go in the order we've already been doing it in.
Sonic
and
Team
then
Racing. I'm sorry.
But, all right, let's go with the obvious one first. Again, go on Shadow Link.
Hold on, I gotta get in the mood.
Oh my god. Yeah, I really liked Astral Chain. You know, I was shit talking it before, but I also don't play a lot of games, so Astral Chain was also just evidently my favorite game.
It's the only game I played.
I fucking adored Devil May Cry 5.
If Matt wasn't a coward, he'd say fucking Dead or Alive Extreme 3. I know it. I fucking know it.
I really loved Devil May Cry 5. I felt
No,
so
unironically,
much.
the
No.
fucking the Summer Lesson expansion packs.
No.
Because that's all he played at my house.
That's it. You've been caught out, Matt.
I've always
Don't make
enjoyed
front-
Dead or
Listen,
Alive,
listen.
volleyball
I
games.
don't need those fictional anime TV girls anymore.
Not with that
I'm
attitude.
I always like, real talk. I always like the DOA volleyball games because they remind me of like NES and Super NES, like Super Volleyball and things like that, where it was just like, yeah, 2 buttons, let's do it.
It tugs at your nostalgia. That's why you like
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it tugs at.
Dead or Alive Extreme 3 came out last year, yeah.
Well, the Scarlet Edition for Nintendo Switch came out in
Devil May
February.
Cry 2 is my favorite game
2019.
of 2019.
Okay, so tell us why you like Devil May Cry 5. Let's go.
I really liked Devil May Cry 5 so much. I've been waiting for the original Devil May Cry series to be continued for over a fucking decade. Kingdom Hearts fans have it fucking easy. They get a new game like every few years. I've been waiting since fucking 2008. That's the last time we got a new game.
What are you talking about, Shadow?
Yeah,
Link?
well, us
There was a
Resident
game
Evil
in there
2 fans have been waiting since 1998 to get a new Resident Evil 2. So, fucking... Gotta.
We got. Go on, Matt. Go continue.
Devil May Cry 5 was like the perfect fucking game for me. It has fantastic like depth and like there's still new things I'm learning every time I go back to the game. Like, holy shit. Oh, it's so fucking good. And like the story is like the perfect culmination of like the entire series. Like, it pulls in stuff. It pulls in stuff from the fucking novel. The novel that nobody read. There's stuff from that in this game. It's like the culmination of everything Devil May Cry. The music is like almost like absolutely perfect. Devil Trigger is such a bop. I love the remixes of the Devil May Cry 1 songs included in the game. They're like so incredible. It's so like weird, like fighting bosses from a game from 2001 and then hearing music from a game from 2001 the same time in this like super hyper detailed like mega realistic AAA game. The highest complaint that I can give Devil May Cry 5 is that it still feels like a PS2 game. It feels like Devil May Cry 3, just like a bit like fine-tuned and with better animation. And like, oh my god, everything they did to improve on the games is so good. The way that like Dante's new mechanics work with him, the added moves they added to him with his styles. Ooh. Oh, it's perfection. I made 3 videos about Devil May Cry 5 because I can't stop talking about it, and there might be another one soon. I don't know. It depends on if they actually make DLC for it or not. But yeah, I've been playing Devil May Cry 5 since the day it came out, and I'm still playing it. I'm still like going back to get those S ranks, going back to challenge it in higher difficulties. Oh, that's another thing. Devil May Cry does like higher difficulties like perfectly. It mixes up like the enemy locations and like it makes the enemy stronger, and then you have to like learn new ways to deal with enemies. So good, so good. I've got a whole I got a whole video about why this is the best game ever made. It's on the channel. You can find it. I really loved it. And there we go. There we go. Devil May Cry 5.
Watch the video now. Go on then. It's you, I think, Spazzy.
I'm gonna cheat and do 2 games because I want to, and you can't stop me. Because I want to do.
That'd be a justified reason. Well, we can do some honorable mentions. We can do a few honorable mentions after we've done.
Yeah.
Here's my actual reason. One is because I want to do what was kind of like a bigger experience, kind of like my big AAA game, and then kind of my indie game of the year, which is not the Goose Game, because I feel like they're different experiences. And one was something I played actually on my Xbox, and one is when I played on my Switch on the go, and I feel like they're just very different experiences. The first one is RE2 was like that's how you do a remake. It was so good, and the thing is, it was done in a way where you can. It still makes it that there's a reason to go back and play the original Resident Evil 2, because that still has the fixed camera angles, and it's not a very forgiving game for newcomers. But it has a fixed camera angles, and it has certain jump scares and tank controls, which I feel like still gives you a reason to go back and experience it the way it was originally done.
It's also got the AB scenario, which the remake doesn't really have.
Kind of that great, yeah. Like because I was really excited about that, because the AB scenario started out really good, but then like you just go through the same path. It's really dumb the way it was executed. I can agree with that. And they also cut out a lot of the animals for some reason, like the moths and the spiders, because I guess it wasn't realistic. But it's Resident Evil. There were plant people that
there's still a giant alligator.
Yeah, right. Like, so it wasn't perfect because they're all like giant spiders, no way. Giant alligator, of course.
Let's do it.
I really love the giant alligator in it, but the game looked amazing. It was a very beautiful game. Like I was very impressed with it, with the way it looked. It took really not even Resident Evil 5 and 6. It took the mechanics more or less from Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
But put it in a more claustrophobic environment, so you could still get some of those jump scares, and you know. Because I think in 5 and 6 they gave you too many options that made you feel like you were superhuman, you know, and that like when I play Doom, I want that feeling where I'm all like, no, I'm just tearing stuff apart. Nothing's really scaring me. They should be scared of me. But Resident Evil is still first and foremost survival horror, and by kind of limiting your options, limiting your ammo, which is something the later games definitely didn't do. And putting you in these like claustrophobic environments where, yeah, you had full camera control, but there's still lots of corners to go around and lots of things to explore. And Mr. X, it was still like a terrifying game while still having like controls from a modern action game that were satisfying. I never felt like I didn't have control of my character, yet the scenarios and situations were still extreme enough that I felt I had to conserve ammo and I had to run away and I had to find the safe room. It was just such a good balance of the classic horror elements of Resident Evil with the more modern gameplay style of Resident Evil, and it was great. It showed that sort of game can still work. And for my indie game, just real quick, Cadence of Hyrule was so great. It was such a good game. It might be my favorite Zelda game in a long time. Like, it was. And that also had a really fun co-op mode. Like, and I feel like a lot of people don't play it in co-op. It gets a little easy in co-op. But that soundtrack slaps. It's amazing. It sounds.
I played the whole game in co-op with my housemate, both co-op and single player.
Yeah, single player is a lot more difficult because once you get enough hearts in co-op, you can just kind of power your way through anything.
Yeah. I found that new Octavio mode they added to be actually quite difficult compared to the original. Like, I've beaten the game twice, and I've died more in the Octavio mode than I have in any of the other modes.
Yeah, they made it more difficult with Octavio mode.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of Octavio mode because I guess I played it back when it came out, and I didn't.
Yeah,
they added it really randomly in December. They're like,
it's
here's a new
just
character.
like a remixed campaign. It's mostly the same, just like more enemies and it's harder.
My favorite post-release game mode to RE2 was the first-person mod, because holy shit, it's so cool. They just, like, some guys managed to mod the camera so that it just kind of sits where, like, the third-person model's, like, head would be, but they also, like, made the head disappear. So it actually feels, like, really natural, because you can, like, look down and see the rest of your body and, like, your arms and everything. If you have a powerful enough PC and you have RE2, I would actually highly recommend it. It's really cool.
Resident Evil 2 Remake is like the next big game I've got on my list after I beat Dragon Quest 11.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to play some middling games in between, but this is the next sort of big AAA game that I need to jump into. Because I've been looking forward to it for a while.
My only problem with Resident Evil 2 is, again, that, like, the zapping mode got completely removed. And, like, you can only get the real ending if you do both A and B, but, like, the B scenario sucks. Compared to just, like, the vanilla A scenario that you would get for that character.
I definitely only did A and B. I never went back and played A as Claire, because I did A as Leon, because it's the same game. I'm like, why am I going to play? It's so similar.
Which one is because there's one that, I know you can do them in any order, but there's one that people consider the canon one.
In the original game, it was Claire A, Leon B that was confirmed canon, because, like, Sherry survives that, and she's in later games.
She's in 6. Is it the same in this one, then?
I think she survives no matter what now.
Yeah,
okay,
they can actually complement each other pretty well, except for what's her name? Is it Birkin? Is that I don't.
Sherry Birkin or Birkin's Sherry's mom?
The mom, yeah. Like, that's the only thing that doesn't make sense, because you can kind of combine the two scenarios, because Leon's fighting Mr. X mostly. And
well, the remakes are also in their own canon.
Yeah,
which has been
okay, interesting.
Yeah,
except RE1 remake that overrode,
which is
RE1.
Just a straight remake.
Yeah.
You think they're gonna remake? They're gonna have Resident Evil remake?
They did say that they were considering it.
I think the one that I would like to see is Code Veronica, because that one.
Oh man, I would love to see them try to make Code Veronica good.
I love Code Veronica.
Code Veronica is a weird game.
There's like some weird,
it's like a cheesy B movie. I've noticed
some weird revisionist history over what people think about Code Veronica and RE3 over the years. Because I remember, like, in the mid 2000s, if you were to ask anyone, they'd be like, "Yeah, I liked Code Veronica. It's the true RE3. It's better than RE3." But nowadays, it seems like it's the reverse.
Like Code Veronica is like the actual was meant to be the end of the actual Resident Evil original trilogy.
no,
and
it
3 was
wasn't.
just a. I'm pretty
No.
sure it was
No.
because it
That
kind
seems
of
to be
wraps up
that seems to
everyone's
be a common
story.
misconception.
That's a common
Ev-
misconception. Yeah, Code Veronica is just a game they made.
Yeah.
There was no like
But I
bigger, like, there was like
Because-
no bigger narrative running behind it.
When it came out, it looked really good. Like, 'cause this was pre-Resident Evil 4. That was the other thing. It was
It
a
was
really
all,
good Dreamcast.
it was
Yeah,
all
a
like
Dreamcast game.
actually rendered, no pre-rendered backgrounds.
Yeah, like
No controllable camera though.
I mean, I think it's the best best controlling of all the tank control games.
No, that's remake.
well,
No, I haven't played the remake, but of the like original 3, Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, and Code Veronica. Code Veronica is the only one that doesn't feel super janky. Like, I know they're sort of meant to feel a bit janky for the horror element of it, but I think Code Veronica is this nice middle point where it still feels nice to control, but it's still not, all in your power like it is in Resi 4.
I would actually say that it's easier to make Code Veronica a quote-unquote good game than Resident Evil 0.
They would have to basically like supplement the whole plot because it sucks.
It's so, but that's the thing. It sucks in a really cheesy and dumb way. It is so dumb.
Look,
love it.
I like
love how
Resident
dumb it
Evil
is.
6, and that's where I draw the line.
Come on, man. You don't like Steve? You don't like Steve, who is definitely
No.
not a young Leonardo DiCaprio in any way?
I do not like Discount Leon.
he's the best, man. The stupid gold gun. I don't know. I have a soft spot for Code Veronica, clearly.
I mean, I like Code Veronica as well.
Yeah.
I need to play 3 properly. I'm just going to wait for the remake, even though I've got it on PS1.
Yeah.
The original 3 is like really, really, really good.
With the amount of games I got to play, I don't have the time to.
It's like 3 hours long.
I may as well wait for the remake of it.
The original
play
3
that
is the
one.
only one of the classic games that I never played through all the way. So
The original
Same.
3 has like this really interesting system going on where there's like a bunch of choices you can make that change the way that you play through the game.
which are removing from the remake
Yeah, they are. They're removing like everything that made Resident
because
Evil
it's
3
dumb
special.
and no one liked it except
No,
for
it's
you.
really good. It's really good. They like basically removed everything that made RE3 special, like when they put Mr. X as a nemesis like character in Resident Evil 2 remake.
That's
Which
true.
like
They
it's
did-
really cool.
yeah.
It's really cool, but it removes some of the like gravitas to Nemesis because now they're just doing it again.
Yeah, because Mr. X used to be in, for those that didn't play the original Resident Evil 2, like he was there, but it was always very scripted when he was
Yeah,
there.
it was just like scripted events.
Didn't really follow you around or anything like that. He just would appear.
And once,
all right.
yeah, once you cleared the thing, you were good.
All right, let's move on to you, Colin. Then
Me,
It's you.
similar to Spazzy. I also kind of have like a conventional game of the year and like an unconventional game of the year, and you will see why in a second. Conventional, like as far as like it's like you just go to the store and you buy it with like no strings attached. Would probably be Luigi's Mansion 3. There's like, I mean, I would probably say Control, but like I'm still only so much time into it, so I you know, I don't want to say until I've beaten it. But Luigi's Mansion 3 is like the game this year that I did not expect to be as amazing as it actually was. Just like it's a fucking masterclass of how you make like the modern Nintendo game. It's just like it looks beautiful, even like for a Switch game. Like it just looks stunning. It's fucking hilarious. Like it's like a modern like Charlie Chaplin short, but done in video game form. Because the slapstick humor is just like on point. It controls really well, and like that multiplayer component, like I did not expect. I did not expect its
Great time.
multiplayer to be so fucking good. Yeah, like that. So there you go. But my runner-ups would definitely be like Control and Resident Evil 2 remake. But for my non-conventional game, because I know everyone would get super limp the second I talk about this, so I had to preface it with a game everyone likes, so I can then talk about this. My non-conventional game of the year would be Blood and Truth for PlayStation VR.
That's not a surprise.
Because I know it, but I know everyone would be like, "Oh, this guy, stupid." But like, I mean, it's funny because like my conventional game of the year is just like another sequel to Luigi's Mansion. But like the thing that I definitely was impressed by this year, I think more than anything else, was new experiences. I really like. I've come to the point where if I'm not playing old games, if I play something new, I want it to feel new. I want it to feel really unique. And VR has just been delivering that in spades between stuff like Boneworks. And yeah, I mean, Grayson in chat says he thought I was going to say Death Stranding, though I do like Death Stranding. Like I do appreciate new experiences, new methods of play. And I think one of the reasons why VR is so fantastic is because whenever you see like PlayStation, like the PlayStation Twitter account talk about a popular VR game like Firewall Zero Hour or something, it's always like followed up by people being like, oh, why can't you just bring this game over to like standard, 2D HD so I can play it with a regular controller and not VR? And I think those people really miss the point, because the whole thing about VR is that it's not just like your standard typical game with motion controls. That's a Wii game. That's a Wii port. VR is the inclusion of like completely redoing how one could play a game, and adds things like accessibility and just more naturalism to the controls. And that's what Blood and Truth is. It is a game that if they just had made it, in HD with a standard DualShock, it'd be a fucking boring kind of middle of the road shooter. But it being in VR does make it that much better, not because there aren't better games in VR or that VR is stunted in quality. It's because in VR, something as simple as just like a linear first-person shooter can be made all the more exciting due to all the new control abilities you can do. There is something very different than when you play a shooter and you press square to reload, and like using one hand to hold a pistol and using your other hand to pull a magazine out from a imaginary chest rig and loading it into your pistol. You feel like fucking John Wick. You feel like Jason Bourne. You feel like such an absolute badass. And like it's done in this style where if you like Guy Ritchie movies, if you like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels or Snatch, it's like this fun, super posh, like British heist romp. It's got like a really fantastic soundtrack. It plays a lot with perspective. Like there's like this whole section that plays with like the 3D visuals that come when you play in VR. If you own PSVR, you should absolutely own it because it's like it'll be the best thing you ever play on it. And if you need a reason to buy PSVR, Blood and Truth is like the thing that should sell you on it. Because even though it's like 4 or 5 hours long, it's like the best 4 to 5 hours of like video game you'll play.
I didn't realize it was that short.
It is short. Well, I mean, it's like a $40 game. It's not.
That's better for me. I mean, that's going to make me more likely to play it, to be honest.
It does. They did go back and they added they did go back and they they added like New Game Plus and like extra game modes to it, and plus you can always go back and replay missions to collect more collectibles and get more like attachments and add-ons and stuff. So they are adding more to it, but like the conventional campaign alone is like enough to warrant the price of entry.
Matthew Rondello is asking you, Colin, if you ever played the rhythm levels.
I'm gonna sound like a fake fan here. What? The rhythm levels? Is there something I missed? Maybe I gotta like
jump back in.
Yeah, jump back in. Or maybe he's making a goof, because it is, as he said, it is made by the developer SingStar. Which is weird, because like apparently the developers of SingStar have always made these weird Guy Ritchie-esque like heist games. Like they made one for like the PS2 and the PSP, and it's always been in the same style. They patched in rhythm-based stuff. Oh, that sounds bad. Oh, now I have a reason to put it up again. Oh, that sounds sick.
He's back in the game.
Yeah, well now it really is the game of the year. Holy shit! But yeah, I don't know. There's just been nothing else that compares to Blood and Truth, because like when you play a game in VR, going back to traditional controls, it does feel like you're taking a step back. It really is like it really is all about like the immersion and the presentation, and it's fantastic. And that's why I'm really excited for all the VR stuff coming out this year.
Cool. Well, you stole my game of the year, because mine was also going to be Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's a good game. Well, it's alright, because I got a list of stuff. I'm going down the list of games that I wrote in my Games of the Decade articles on Source Gaming. The next one down for me was Fire Emblem Three Houses, which, yeah, I can go with that out after Luigi's Mansion 3, because I really enjoy the Fire Emblem series, and Fates was a bit of a letdown. They tried this 3-story mechanic. It wasn't very interesting. I only beat one of the 3 possible routes in that game and got bored, and that was a first. Well, it's not a first for me in Fire Emblem, because I definitely got bored of the Binding Blade as well. But like, it's a bit of a low point in the series. And Echoes is great. I like Echoes, but Echoes isn't anything outstanding. Whereas I feel like Three Houses, the only downside I can really give it is that it's too long. There's too much stuff to do, because it also has like 4 different story pathways, and while New Game Plus makes it slightly easier, one pathway was still like the shortest pathway was still like 80 hours long.
I just like how much overlap there is in the paths.
Yeah, the first
2 of them are almost
half
exactly the same.
I heard that.
I hate to cut you off, but I just looked up the rhythm like level mode for Blood and Truth. It looks fucking incredible. It's like DJ Hero, but you have guns. It looks fucking cool. Oh my god. I'll post a link to it in Stream Channel. That's incredible, and it's like a free update. Holy shit! Yeah, and it came out last month, like near the end of December. That's incredible. It's crazy. That's
that does look pretty. That does look pretty badass, actually.
Yeah, that looks awesome. I'll post a link to it also in the chat. Holy shit.
But yeah, Fire Emblem Three Houses was my one. I really think the characters this time are an upgrade over the last. Like, I'm just gonna ignore Echoes when I say the last game. Just understand that I'm talking about Fates.
Yeah,
I feel like all the characters are a big upgrade over that one. I know the graphics aren't like the best thing ever, but like considering how much content is in that game and general Fire Emblem graphics, I think it's fine. Like it could be better, but the gameplay is more important to me, and I think the gameplay is really top notch in this one. The actual unit customization, which is obviously the big focus this time, is done really well, because that's the thing they've had since Shadow Dragon, and in Shadow Dragon it's bare bones and not very good, and they've been sort of improving it. I kind of liked Awakening's second seal system, especially when you got enough of them that you could start like jumping around and trying to grab skills, but it was a very long-winded way of doing it. I feel like this time around Three Houses perfects that well. The only issue I could even think about with it is that if you aren't aware, its balance is the one thing that bothers me, because so many of the ultimate classes in that game rely on you knowing how to ride a horse, which seems like like if you're not aware of this ahead of time, like because not every character is prolific in horse riding, which means some of the characters are naturally at a disadvantage.
There's a flyer master class, but there isn't a flyer class for the one underneath it, so your flyer is basically going to be like stuck in a lower class if you want to build up that stat.
that was also a really dumb thing with that. I had that with Ingrid, where she was a Pegasus Knight, and then there's nothing because she can't become a Wyvern Rider because she's a girl for some reason, and so then I had to make her a Horse Rider for ages until she could become a Falcon Knight, which is dumb. I like that one's also there are a few things there that prevent it from being like one of the top games in the series, because I don't think it is. I still think I prefer Path of Radiance and Fire Emblem Awakening and Fire Emblem 7, but it was just a lot of fun to play. I liked the characters, I liked the story, I like that the story's not as black and white as Fates was, because Fates tries to have this weird idea of, you'd pick a side in this war, but for that to really work, there needs to be some ambiguity between which side is actually good and bad, and there is none in Fates. Nor is objectively an awful like the Garen is objectively
Garen's a
villain.
fucking goo monster.
It's awful, and they when you play through Fates' side, you're just doing horrible things, with Corrin being like, oh, but it will all pay off in the end, we'll do the right thing at the end, and it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Whereas at least this side, it's clear that everyone sort of has a side they're fighting for. Like,
the villain is a magic...
Because people...
The villain is a magic evil goo monster. We've got to unearth him so that my siblings will believe me. He's got to sit on this throne. He's got to take over this whole country so he can sit on the throne, which will reveal him as a magic goo monster.
So bad. With at least with Three Houses story, I know not everyone's a massive fan of Three Houses plot lines, and specifically Edelgard, people are very divisive on. But I like the fact that people are actually divisive on it. There are people who think that the evil dictator character actually does have somewhat of a point when you side with her, and you can kind of see where she's coming from. And then Dimitri is on the other side, being this absolute psychopath, but with a reason because of everything that's been sort of built up before him. And then Claude's just kind of there as the middleman who's trying to keep some sort of
Claude's
peace.
just chilling out in the corner.
Yeah.
You don't play his story. He's just sitting in the corner, just being like, "Hey guys."
But I like this. I like that. And even Seros, who from the start of the game looks like she's going to be the obvious bad guy, isn't necessarily an obvious bad guy. And
there is an obvious bad guy.
Depending on your route. There is an obvious
the obvious
bad
guy is the one thing that kind of sullies the plot, because there is this evil force behind everything, absolutely everything going on. And that
typical Fire Emblem fashion.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, there is that, but I still think that this is the better step of making a multiple story rooted morale decision game.
It's a lot better than Fates. Yeah, fucking Fates.
There's just I'm interested to see what the new story DLC they add are, and I think there's also they took all the good polished stuff from Echoes, full voice acting, and ran with it. I think the supports are better in this game. They got rid of Fates'. Everyone can marry everyone, even if it doesn't make any sense.
We didn't know the specifics, my dude.
I mean, I'm trying.
There's
I'm
literally
trying not
a
to
church
say
called the Church of Seros. We were talking about the Church of Seros.
Yeah, it's literally it's not really a spoiler. The church,
Yeah.
The Church of Seros is the church that's in the game from the very beginning. But
Don't spoil 2001: A Space Odyssey. Goddamn! Don't spoil the Star Wars.
yeah, Fire Emblem Three Houses is probably my game of the year. Although I do have an honorable mention that is an honorable mention because I know no one's ever played it. And no one here will have played it, and I can't imagine many people in the chat have played it, which is AI: The Somnium Files.
Is that a transition? Is that a segue, man?
That is in fact a segue.
That is also a game I've been meaning to play. I picked it up namely because it was rare for like a month for some reason. Like they just stopped producing copies of it.
It's published by Numskull Games.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like the same people who published Deadly Premonition Origins, and
Ooh.
it's like it's a really good game. So it's written by the guy who did the Fate Escape Zero Escape series,
Yeah.
which so 999 and whatever the others are called. 999 is the only one I've actually played.
It's the only
Zero
one you should
Time
play.
Dilemma and Virtue's Last
But I hear the
Reward.
third one's a bit of a massive letdown.
Uh-huh. A lot of people love the second one, but the third one...
Good things about the second one. Third one.
The
no.
third one apparently retroactively makes the second one worse.
Yeah,
Because
I
like
think that's
there's
why
like a
people-
cliffhanger. There's like a cliffhanger and like an obvious continuation that should happen in the true ending of 2, but then the third game doesn't continue from that, and so the true ending of 2 isn't the true ending, and so like it's retroactively worse now.
But going back to AI, the Somnium File, it was like the very last game of 2019 I played, a detective visual novel, and I just think it's got a really good mystery behind it. The game's whole sort of gimmick is that you can investigate use this machine to enter people's somniums, which means dreams. So you can enter people's like dreams to try and see if you can get like information on the case, what they know, kind of like a witness testimony through their dreams. And I think all the characters are really well written with really good established relationships. The main two characters, Date and Iba, have a really, really fun dynamic, and they make really enjoyable partners for the whole game. So you enjoy spending time with them, which is really important for a story-driven detective game. But it's also got something I didn't realize. So when I first played through it, there are multiple routes throughout the game, like in its typical Zero Escape fashion, depending on the choices that you make when in these dreams, and they can be like drastically different. The characters who actually survive, the ones who don't, the actual sort of focus of the plot can shift between stuff like secret organization on one route to like serial killer on the other route, to a hidden like mystery that happened years ago from an unsolved case, and it all comes together and makes logical sense at the end. Like there is a through line that connects everything in a way that works once you've finally done every single route and you've got the true ending of the game.
Well, that's cool.
And I just really enjoyed my whole time with it, and Date is like my spirit animal, I think, because he's fucking goofball in all the best ways possible. And you can just click on shit and he'll tell, like, you can click on himself in the mirror and he'll just start like telling bad jokes to himself, and he's constantly trying to make puns at people, and it's great.
My friends and I, so last year at MagFest, like we did this thing where the night before MagFest we played through all of A Way Out, and we kind of wanted to do that again this year with like another game, and we didn't really know what game to do, and AI the Somnium Files was up there because I've just heard so many things about how like delightfully weird it is.
There are moments in the game that are very anime.
But like,
I've
I've heard like I have a friend who's like a mega weird, but he said like the weird things that happen to this game aren't even like anime weird. They're just like funny weird. Like they're just really like well like put together like bits of just like bizarre kind of like just modern humor.
I think there's an element of stuff that happens within dreams and stuff that happens outside of dreams, and because they're in dreams on the inside part, they can get away with a shit ton of stuff that's really fucking stupid but really, really works. And I
Yeah.
mean, there's a massive Minecraft parody in the game where the
Nice.
entire aesthetic becomes like some sort of not techno, cyberpunk-esque Minecraft
Oh my fucking
thing,
God.
and it's and it's great. But it's good. AI is a game that if you're into any sort of story-driven visual novel detective game, then this is like a must-play one. This is
Well,
one of the better ones.
if you're starting up with
Honorable mentions, yes.
with honorable mentions, then I guess we're going in reverse order. So
Yeah.
I'll go. Oh God, I played a lot of really good stuff this year, and like there's like I could go on about stuff like the Sinking City or like Metro Exodus or Control or Modern Warfare 2019. I played a lot of like I don't know. I just like there was a lot of games I played this year that I just liked. You know, like I just was like, yeah, it was good. I like it. But if I had to choose like a definite honorable mention, like if I had to give it the award for I liked it, with an awkward silence followed after it, it would be the game that everyone pretended was a bad game, which was Wolfenstein Youngblood, which to this day I still don't understand why people thought it sucked.
Yeah, I didn't play it, so my only thing from that game is that I saw the footage that you had recorded for me.
Yeah, Wolfenstein Youngblood is a spin-off co-op semi-open RPG shooter. It is not a sequel, even though people thought it was a sequel. I don't know why, but people thought it was a sequel to Wolfenstein 2, which is a bad game. And basically for this spin-off, they basically just decided to go in a complete. They instead of going to the linear shooter tradition that Wolfenstein usually does, they kind of went for a more arcane, semi-open environment co-op shooter, kind of more like a Borderlands or something, or a Division. And it's good. It's not perfect. Like there's definitely areas where it could have been improved. Like I do kind of wish it had like more. But if you were to compare it to previous Wolfenstein games, it certainly has more. It's got more guns. It's got more movement. It's got more just everything. The level design is better. It's got really good music.
Wish I
I've
could
played
hear that
through it.
music.
Yeah. I've played through it like, I don't know, 2.5, like 3 times now, just with different people. Because it's just a blast to play through. Like the combat is just that good that it holds up just being played over and over again. And yeah, I mean, I like that. I know it's like really cool to hate on Bethesda because they made one bad Fallout game and now their image is tarnished forever. Every good game they've ever produced is now bad. But you can get it for like $20. You can get the deluxe edition with $20. It allows you to play with a friend, and that friend can play for absolutely free. And it's a good time. There you go.
It's the Wolfenstein spiel. No, I mean, it looks good. I just don't have any investment in the Wolfenstein series. That's the only.
You don't
that's
really
the only
need
thing with it.
to.
The
That's
story is
actually like
fucking awful. Just don't care, and you're good.
No,
Just
as in, this matters in the sense that I can't prioritize it over the billions of other
That's fair.
more invested series.
it's actually kind of weird because like the big problem with one of the biggest problems with the last Wolfenstein game, Wolfenstein 2, is that the story was like really awful. But like this is kind of the same but in the opposite direction because there really is no story, and I think that's the point. Like cuz like there's just no like overarching plot. There's just like there's a premise, there's villains. That's about it.
There is a plot. It's just not good, and the protagonists are fucking insufferable.
I love the Kanker sisters. What are you talking about?
I hate them.
I love them so much. They're badass and inspirational, Jess. It's fucking great.
What about you, Spazzy? Then, what's your any honorable mentions?
Oh
You
yeah,
wanna bring
Killer Queen Black. Please play this
Oh,
game,
yeah.
guys. It's so much fun. Why doesn't anybody play this? It's so hard for me to find a match sometimes. But
It's just it's a weird like 3-on-3, all right, right? Or is it 4-on-4?
It's four-
Like, what is it?
do I have to explain what Killer Queen Black is?
I mean, I know what the game is. I just don't know.
It's
how
only
many players it
multiplayer. So well, the reason you don't know that is because there's the arcade and then there's the home version, which is Killer Queen Black. So it's 8 players in Killer Queen Black. It's 4-on-4. In the arcade game, it's 10. One player controls the queen, and 3 players control the drones, which can become soldiers. And it's just it's some of like the most fun like arcade style like multiplayer gaming I've played in decades. It's so addictive and so good. It takes a couple times because when you explain the game to somebody, they're like, "Oh, that sounds stupid." But the fact that you can win the game like several different ways. You can there's the military option. You can kill the other player's queen. You can, which is best 2 out of you have to kill them 3 times. You can ride the snail. There's like literally a giant snail that is super slow that you can get a soldier to ride or a drone to ride from one side to the other to win. And there's so many layers of strategy because it's so simple. But once you really get into it, and it's a game you have to play with voice chat. So it's if you can get a team together made out of people that are on your team, like people you actually know on your team, and you have voice chat. The in-game voice chat's good, but if you have like a pre-made, it's so good because you can come up with different strategies on the fly, and it's like, please just play the game, guys. Like, just do it. It's not expensive.
I think the problem I had with Killer Queen Black, apart from what Matthew in the chat is saying, that it was delayed for over a year and just took too long to get out,
Yeah.
is that every time I've tried to play the game,
Yeah, the snail is the payload.
like there's either been technical difficulties that have not let us play it. There's not enough people to actually be able to play it. Like, there's always something hampering the way. And that kind of just gives me the impression that, like, if I was to buy this actually and then try and play it, I'm still going to be running into all these big issues where there's no one to play it with.
There's been
I would
when
have
I've
to have
played,
a team of.
When I've played, the only problem is that there aren't enough people, so sometimes you get bots on your team. But besides that, it works fine. I haven't had run into any technical difficulties. Go buy this game. We'll make a Source Gaming team. We'll be like, I will literally stream this like several times a week if you buy this game. Mango and I have played it together. I think Colin owns it, even though I've never played it with him. So
I do own it because I came with the little Joy-Con stickers that are actually really fucking cool looking.
So yeah, that's it. That's it for me. I can't really explain it much better. It's very arcadey. The controls are basically Joust. You can kill the other team. You can collect. There's a resource. You can collect resources, or the snail's basically the payload. But check it out. It's honestly very fun.
Then I guess it leaves you now, Shadowlink. What is your last honorable mention?
My second favorite game of the year was actually the game the first video I made for Source Gaming. It's Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes. Travis Strikes Again is like a very interesting game for me because critics fucking hated it because it didn't have production values. But I loved it because it was like very heartfelt and like it genuinely felt like Suda, for like the first time in a decade, actually wanted to make a game. So it went. The writing was like really spectacular, and it felt like for the first time in a decade since that first No More Heroes, Suda was actually like interested in writing something, and he didn't get fucking like destroyed by publishers in his attempt to write it. Because like the last two games that Suda wrote were the Killer is Dead, which was like fucked over by a publisher who had them like throw in erotic minigame bullshit. Because they made Lollipop Chainsaw and that was really erotic, and that was a hit, so the publisher was like, you do that again. And like the only thing people could focus on with Killer is Dead was the fact that the fan service was too like over the top and like forced, and it totally was. Like if you play Killer is Dead and you just try to ignore all that, it still like shoves it down your throat with like the girls calling you in the middle of missions telling you to do the fan service mode, and it's like completely optional and gets you fucking nothing of worth. And then the game before that was Shadows of the Damned, which was like this super bastardized project that EA like forced Suda into making, because his original draft got like scrapped and they had to make it more like Western and like more vulgar. And like the original draft for the Shadows of the Damned game got turned into a manga, and it's actually like pretty good.
What's the manga called?
Oh fuck, I don't remember. I will look that up
We'll look it
while I
up
continue
later.
talking.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I could look it up. Like, I'm sure I can find it.
Shadows of the Damned is a really interesting piece because it basically like framed the whole decade for Suda, to the point where the CEO of EA at the time is one of the main bad guys in Travis Strikes Again and No More Heroes. Sort of. He has the same last name, and his backstory has him like fucking over a game developer and destroying their vision. So yeah, it's a lot of like self-commentary from him. It's an oddly personal work for like No More Heroes, because like it's still set in the No More Heroes universe. It still stars Travis, but like it has like this overwhelming like meta narrative that's just about like the last decade for Suda 51, and it's this weird like coming to terms like story, because like Shadows of the Damned is in Travis Strikes Again, and
It's my favorite part.
yeah, and
I
like
love that stage.
at the end of it, like it reads like Suda's finally like accepted his work on Shadows of the Damned and is okay with it now, and that's like that's cool. So that's a cool bit of meta narrative. But basically, like the reason that I love it so much, other than all that like really good stuff, is that it like made me fascinated to the point that it got me interested in video games again, because I had a big falling out with video games in like 2017 2018. I just wanted to stop playing video games, and like Travis Strikes Again kicked off like the year when I started playing video games again. And I finally I'm finally interested in continuing that stuff. I'm really looking forward to No More Heroes 3. It's really like amazing that Travis Strikes Again actually did well enough for him to finally make the big three, that he spent the entire game teasing. And like he's actually doing it. He's actually coming back into the director's chair. He's writing it. He didn't write or direct No More Heroes 2. And like it's a really like weird title for most Suda fans, because like for No More Heroes fans, they generally accept it, but for Suda 51 fans, it's like very clear that there's no clear vision in No More Heroes 2, and it's just kind of a train wreck. It literally devolves into a train wreck in the game. the fucking main bad guy is a fucking baby in a chair who then turns into a giant blimp version of himself, and even the characters like GTFO, like Henry, joins Travis for the fight, and then he just like fucks off, like, nah, I'm not being a part of this travesty. And it's just like
it's been so long. I mean, I appreciate No More Heroes 2.
I like
for the
No More
gameplay
Heroes 2.
improvements
I
think it
like
did
No
to
More
the
Heroes
first one.
2. But like it's very clear that it's a fucking train wreck. There's just like so many like low points in No More Heroes 2, and I don't feel like there are any low points in No More Heroes 1. There's a lot of like menial downtime, and though that's the point, it can get a little annoying, but like there's no genuinely like bad levels like the goddamn forest level in No More Heroes 2.
By the way,
Can I
that
play
manga,
Travis Strikes
the manga
Again
for
if
Shadows,
I not played 1 or 2? You can, but it might lose some impact. You can watch Let's Plays of 1 and 2 if you really want to. I recommend the Chip Cheesem Let's Plays. They're pretty entertaining. The first No More Heroes Let's Play is like one of the first Let's Plays he did, so it's like really rough, but it's still like a fun ride. I know there's like a video where he's doing like a subway mission and his fucking dad comes into the room. It's really awkward and funny. But yeah. What was the manga called?
It's a Kuriyama.
Yeah, that's it. Kuriyama.
Yeah, Kuriyami. Sorry,
it-
Kuriyami Dao
Kuriyami.
is the
Yeah.
name of the manga, but Kuriyami
It's really
is
good.
the game.
It's really interesting. It's a lot more interesting than Shadows of the Damned was.
I'm just reading about like what happened and all stuff and how reluctant he was to.
In our
Yeah.
little
Talk about it.
Source Gaming Illuminati staff chat, Spazzy said all this and no one brought up Tetris 99, and like
It's a Tetris
There's-
game.
there's so many games to bring up though.
Yeah.
Like I
Like,
just
didn't get
remembered.
to mention
I-
Barbara's You, which was
Yeah, there's that. I
such a
just
great
remembered I
game.
played Layers of Fear 2 this year, and I really enjoyed it.
I just remembered I started Daemon X Machina
It was a
in
really good year.
2020. I bought it.
Ring-
I bought it when it came out. I got it on launch day, and I played it for the first time on like January 3rd.
Samurai Showdown, Mortal Kombat 11.
Ooh, Sam Show's a good one.
Sam shows good.
Yeah.
Ring Fit Adventure's really fun. I need
It
to get
is,
back into
yeah.
it. Good exercise.
Like I said, I haven't played much of Sekiro, but I like what I have played.
Devil
I
May
know
Cry
Colin
2
liked Death
came
Stranding
out.
a lot.
What?
Yeah, what game?
Devil May Cry 2 came out.
Yeah. There's also that that one
What?
there's also that one game that I've been it's been sitting on my shelf because I was supposed to play it with someone, but that
Oh,
someone
Contra?
just bought it recently and still hasn't
We'll-
contacted me to
We'll
play it.
play it. You know what else I have that I haven't played once is because we found the super cheap $16 codes for is the is Switch.
Overwatch port.
Yeah, on Switch. I'm interested to see how that holds up. Probably not super great.
We can do Contra on a stream. We can do Overwatch not on a stream.
Yeah, I'll play Daemon X Machina with you, Phantom. I'm really early in the game.
I need to sit down and play more Daemon X Machina.
Daemon
'cause
X
the concept
Machina
of-
is like super weird because it's like very clearly like really low budget.
Yeah. What's a
It's like got an
marvelous-
MMO structure where you have a hub and then you accept missions and need to transport it into the mission area. But
Yeah.
like the thing about Daemon X Machina is that it kind of has everything that I wanted from Astral Chain. It's got this like over the top like tongue-in-cheek like cast of characters that are like super silly and goofy. There's literally a guy whose introduction is him fucking screaming. He just like comes in and goes, "Oh!"
Right. Okay.
but like the thing that really like caught me off guard was like this like really in-depth like movement and like combat system
Yeah.
in the game. It's like super like fast and like crazy, and it's like it really impresses me. Like, okay, so like I normally want a frame rate to be like consistent in a game, and Daemon X Machina is usually consistent if you play it in like TV mode. But when you go super fast, the game kind of buckles under the stress. But I actually like don't mind that, unlike an Astral Chain where everything's like kind of slow anyway, and when the frame rate drops, it gets like slower. Because like Daemon X Machina like trusts you to be like as badass as you possibly can be, and the game will just like let you do whatever. It's really it's interesting.
Yeah, I was talking to someone who's like really big into like mech stuff during MagFest, and he was like, I played a bit of Daemon X Machina and I wasn't a really big fan of it. And I was like, oh, what, like, how much did you play? And he's like, well, I played the demo they released like earlier in the year. And I went, oh, no, download the new one, please.
Yeah. The first demo was really rough. There's a lot of like good stuff in that demo. Like, I'm still like blown away by the fact that you can fully customize the UI in a console game. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Dude. That's like above and beyond.
If you've only played the prototype missions demo, but you're still like interested in the concept alone, play the new prologue demo.
Just play
That's
the
like
new demo.
The
it's a lot
actual
better.
opening to the final game. It is significantly better. It's not a beta test anymore.
The prototype was the opening to the game, but like it was like really rough. The frame rate was bad. And like
it was very clearly like a very early version.
Yeah, it was an early version, but they actually like listened to feedback,
yeah, they
which
did.
is like amazing to see. And they changed a lot of stuff, and now like the final game's pretty good.
Yeah, I had to get on my knees and be like, no, please, just like you give the game a chance. Just play the real demo. Don't play the fucking prototype demo. I swear you will like it way more. And then like they've also been like supporting that game, like it's kind of weird. Like they added like PvP multiplayer like a month or two after the game comes out, which I really want to try out because any game with a 2v2 mode is
all these crossovers with Necrophage.
Yeah, it's got The Witcher 3.
It's got fucking Code Geass.
Yeah.
That's one of them games that I don't like. I mean, yeah, maybe I should try the updated demo because I only tried the original.
Yeah, try the updated
demo.
No,
if you've only played the prototype,
demo was like kind of super rough. At least give the new demo a chance. If you don't like it, that's cool.
For time.
That's cool.
But
someone mentioned the big. Sorry, but I just wanted to say someone mentioned the big Hori Daemon X Machina split pad, and like even though
I canceled my pre-order for that,
I'm pretty comfy with like the Skull and Co like grip case with the little thumbstick caps they have, but I'm still very curious about that split pad thing. Just not $50 curious.
Mm.
It looks like it has very weird weight issues.
Yeah, it does. It looks a bit too chunky.
Yes, Daemon X Machina has a crossover with Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Did anyone hear?
Yeah, sorry. Fuck.
Sorry, Spazzy potentially play Bloodstained Ritual of the Night.
You know, for as big of a Castlevania fan as I am, I never got around to it. I almost bought the Switch version, but then I heard it was horrible, so I didn't. And then I just didn't like. I enjoy playing. There's so many great Metroidvania games that are available right now.
Yeah.
You have your Hollow Knights, and you have your Oris, and you have your Dead Cells, and they all play great. So I was all like, I'll eventually play it.
The weird thing about the Metroidvania genre is that the two franchises that are in the name of that genre went dormant for a while, and then like.
Then it exploded.
Like a whole bunch of indie games like took their hand in the genre. Like Cave Story came out right after the last 2D Metroid before the remake of Metroid 2. But like the genre exploded, and now when Castlevania and Metroid are sort of back, they're not as special anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so many great games. Guacamelee, Axiom like there's so many great games in that genre
Yeah.
that you have to do a little bit more to stand out now.
Yeah.
Like Samus Returns or whatever was okay, but that counter mechanic kind of made
The
it.
counter mechanic was garbage.
Yeah, exactly.
It
so it made it
super
not as
slowed
good as it
down
could
the
have been.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
I hate some of the new additions they added in that game.
pretty much everything new they did in the remake of Samus Returns I did not like. Partially because I came off of AM2R, which is actually like my favorite Metroidvania game. I love the work that
I
the
like
fans did on there.
There's a couple things I actually like better in Samus Returns than AM2R, but overall I would say AM2R is a better experience.
I would say AM2R did a better job integrating new content. Whoa.
Someone's
Whoa.
fallen over.
Spazzy,
No, I
you
agree.
okay?
I think I agree with you on that. Like, I like in Samus Returns, I like the big giant mech digger thing that they added in. Except
that
the
boss
actually,
is
I don't like the
fucking
boss. I don't like the
horrible.
boss fight of that though. The boss fight, if the build up to it and the actual chase and all that is pretty
Like,
good, but
the
the boss
chase
fight
is
itself
good. The
is
boss fight
terrible.
is fucking garbage. The one-hit kill
Yeah,
moves.
that's
oh my
garbage.
god.
But I think that the
Spazzy,
AM2R,
stop eating your mic.
Yeah.
I had my mic on mute the whole time, so I have no idea what you guys were hearing. Like I literally had my mic muted.
It wasn't on
unmuted
mute.
It was not.
It was not on mute.
I wasn't doing it. No, it was on. Like
Nope.
we can definitely play
We
it
heard
back
it.
and
We heard it.
weird,
been
but I wasn't
recorded.
doing anything either.
It's
The
been
little
recorded.
icon.
Well, anyway, like
Weird.
with AM2R, it's like I think they introduced the extra story stuff and connecting it to other Metroid games much better than what
Yeah.
Samus Returns did.
I really don't
Like
like
Samus
that they
Returns
added
just
Ridley.
threw shit. Yeah, no, the Ridley thing is the worst part of that game.
Yeah. It's like the
I've
one
complained
thing
about it so much.
the one thing that makes like Metroid 2 really special is that it's this really different game. It has this really like somber ending. And like the remake's just like, no, we gotta have Ridley fight at the end.
And it's just a really bad reasoning as well. Like, the only reason it's there is because it would be cool and unexpected.
Yeah.
And, like, those are the same issues that people have with the last season of Game of Thrones. And, like, that's
Oh
not good.
yeah, but I don't really care about story that much with the Metroid games. To be honest with you, it's more about
it's
atmosphere.
less story. It's that they ruined the atmosphere of the ending of that game because it's
Yeah,
like
I
this
agree.
really cool like just walk out of the planet with the baby Metroid and this like really uplifting kind of sort of melancholy track playing and then like the remake doesn't really have that quality to it. It like replaces it with a big loud explodey Ridley fight.
I feel like it's been a long time since I played it. I'm trying to remember, but I feel like I don't remember like the different power-ups you had and balancing those. The like you could make your gun strong or you could like look for secrets. I thought that was fine. I like that addition. I just remember really hating the counter. That was the one thing.
There were some things that Samus Returns did, but like it mostly did the bare minimum.
Yeah.
It was a Metroid game. That's the bare minimum. It just didn't do
Yeah,
anything special.
and
The one
Getting back
thing
to the original point.
I did
Oh,
like
sorry, go ahead.
was the directional aiming. Though I missed that
Yes, I thought that was
you could
really
just
good.
like snap to the diagonal directions. I missed that, but the directional aiming is still like really like a thing that I would have expected them to add to the next Metroid game. So there you go, you did it. One thing.
I liked the aiming was good. That was something I was actually going to bring up. So I played a couple demos for Bloodstained and I always liked it. There was just too much going on, and it's kind of terrible to say this, but I would have probably prioritized a real Castlevania game as opposed to a spiritual successor over it. To be like,
fair.
oh well, it's a Castlevania game. I have to play it. It looked good, but after hearing that it had so many performance issues and just having so many other games to play, I just never got around to it.
This is going to be the big test for me because I picked it up on the Switch the other day, because they saw it. It was being sold for like 18 quid.
I think they fixed
And
it.
apparently, they the very end of October, beginning of November, released a patch for the Switch version that fixes all the performance issues that everyone had with the game.
Did they ever fix the crash when you like examine a bookcase?
So what they did was they've been like really weird on this. They had like 2 mega patches planned. One was gonna be like the big Switch patch, and then they were gonna do a secondary like just general like bug fix pass like over it. That both of them were supposed to come out in like August. One came out in October, and we're still waiting for the second one. But the general consensus is that like Bloodstained on Switch it looks and runs a lot better now. At the off chance of it also being a little buggier in places that it previously wasn't. So you may have to wait that extra month or 2 before it's like, okay, it's fine now.
It's sitting here in my shelf now. I'll play it after a couple nights, I suppose.
Which is funny because like on the flip side of the coin, like the homebrew community has like imported like higher resolution like textures and models from the PC version and reinserted them into the Switch version along with overclocking, just got the game running and looking better. Like the homebrew community stepped in when the actual developers couldn't, and they made like an oddly better port.
I generally dislike when Switch ports like take the route of just making the textures really fucking tiny.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks terrible.
That A Hat in Time Switch port is crusty. It is amazingly crusty. I don't know how or why it's so crusty.
Well, guys, do we want to start wrapping up this? I think the final thing I'm supposed to ask for here is what are your thoughts on 2019 as a whole, particularly stacked up to the years before it, 2018, 2017? Like, for gaming, do you think it was a good year, a bad year, an average, mediocre year? Like, how do you think as an overall product?
well, the big thing for me, and though this started last year in like 2018, was Capcom's finally back, and like Capcom was my favorite developer until they went through the
dark times.
The dark times. What's the Mega Man guy? What's his name?
Inafune.
They went through the Inafune era, where everything like got outsourced and was terrible. But now they're back. They're back on top, and like they're my favorite developer again. They're making all these like amazing products. They made Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
They made the Monster Hunter World is a game I picked up.
Mega Man 11 is great.
I picked up Monster Hunter World at the end of like 2019, and like I've been loving it. It's really good, and like of
Just
course
need to make
Devil
a
May Cry
good
5.
fighting game next.
Yeah, that's the thing. The fighting games are their bread and butter, and they haven't really been.
Fighting games.
Everything else.
Fighting game. I've heard like horror stories of the fighting game department at Capcom. Like nobody can like decide on what is right, and like they get like terrible budgets. Like especially Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite had like not even
that
the
game
budget.
looked cheap, and it came out the same year as Dragon Ball FighterZ.
Yeah, it had like not even the budget
beautiful.
of like a DLC for Street Fighter 5.
Yeah, the fighter pass for Street Fighter 5 had a bigger budget than
and so like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite had to like cobble together this kind of Frankenstein's monster with like the Marvel vs. Capcom 3 models, which were low poly and low detail and kind of terrible, but they worked because they were covered up by the game's like really stark high contrast art style, and putting like realistic textures and realistic lighting and shading on them just like reveals how terrible they are. Because like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is a really like it's not a worse, like it's not that much worse.
It's technically sound. It plays fine.
It plays great. It plays great.
Yeah.
It's not that much worse than Marvel vs. Capcom 3. It's actually better in a lot of ways. The netcode's way better. you can actually play online without experiencing pure terror. Virgil's not in it, so that's a step up. But like, just like the presentation is like what most casual fans focus on with any game, and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite looks fucking terrible. and
Really
that
does.
just like kind of like that immediately when people saw Dante's face, when people saw Chun-Li's face, oh my god, that was like the nail in the coffin for that game. It was dead. It was dead right then. Like, no matter how much they tried to fix it, they fixed Chun-Li. They didn't fix Dante. They fixed Chun-Li. But
They know what their bigger priority is.
yeah, Chun-Li was the one that got memed. Dante was just the one that PewDiePie changed his avatar to. But yeah, holy shit. Just that game, both it like being revealed around the same time as like Dragon Ball FighterZ and looking like way worse. And then like the roster too, like Disney fucking had like held Marvel up with everything. Well, Marvel held up Capcom, I mean, because of the Disney acquisition and because of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they couldn't use X-Men. The series fucking started with an X-Men crossover.
Yeah.
They couldn't
think
use
that-
X-Men.
That's something I kind of, to a certain extent, I want to put focus on Capcom for that, because yeah, I get Disney limiting them to the MCU cast and not letting them use characters like Doctor Doom and the X-Men is
Yeah.
really dumb when those are some of like the biggest Marvel characters for the series. But at the same time, the MCU does have a bunch of characters who have never really been in a Marvel vs. Capcom who could have been really interesting fighters that just don't get used. Like
They added,
Loki's the big obvious one, because Loki is such a popular character in the MCU that it almost seemed like a given that he should be in this game, and he's just not. And
Well,
I feel like his moveset would have been
yeah,
significantly
it's
also
more
lot
have
interesting.
we also have the
than-
problem where like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, while it benefits from the MCU and is technically supposed to be a promotion for the MCU, it doesn't have the MCU characters in it. They're just the Marvel characters in their comic book forms.
Yeah, like
Um,
everybody really wants to see Marvel comic book Hawkeye. Everybody love Hawkeye.
Like, I mean, I get that, like, but like using the designs from the comics but limiting it to the characters who actually appeared in the MCU, there's still a bunch of like interesting stuff they could have done. I mean, and arguably there's some better, because there's some MCU characters that are not the same as their comic book counterparts at all, and are very plain looking in terms of design. What's his name? The guy who's the main villain of Civil War. Who's got
Zemo?
like the massive helmet. Yeah, Zemo, who has like the big fucking mask helmet thing in the comics. And there's just some dude in the in the movies. This could have been a chance to have someone like him in it, who would have been much benefited being his comic book counterpart, and could have been used because he's an MCU character. But they just went for Ultron makes sense, Captain Marvel makes sense, Black Panther and Black Widow, sure. Winter Soldier is like, Winter Soldier makes sense, but they didn't need to have Nathan Spencer
Ghost Rider is
with
still
it, because they
owned
like
by
clash
Marvel,
horribly.
so they could have used. They did use Ghost Rider. It's still owned by Marvel. It's in. Is it
They use
technically in the MCU because of the TV show?
Ghost Rider's not, no. The
Uh,
only characters who were not in the MCU who were in this game, I think, were Nova, Ghost Rider,
Venom.
technically.
Venom.
Ghost
And-
Rider's kind of in the MCU. I mean, he was on Agents of
Is
Shield.
he? Is he?
Right?
He's
Was
in the
he on
TV
Agents
show.
of Shield?
He's in the
Yeah,
TV
man.
show.
He was the last season of Agents of Shield. Was all, or like the
I-
second to
I,
last.
I like
I didn't
how
know
I
that.
like how they have. I know a little bit about the Marvel TV show. I like how they have Johnny Blaze only show up in Ghost Rider form, leaving it open for Nicolas Cage to come back. Please let him come back.
Yes, because it had Johnny Blaze give the Ghost Rider powers over to
Yeah.
what's his name?
I don't fucking know.
But I don't know. I'm just having a look at it. Apparently, he makes a cameo appearance in the 4th season. He wasn't referred to by name, but it was confirmed to be
Robbie
him.
Reyes, is that the name? Dude?
Yeah, where he encounters the dead Robbie Reyes.
Yeah.
He just paralyzed when they crashed the car. Johnny answers Robbie's dying wish for him to get revenge on the people that attacked him and his brother.
Yeah, because in the comics, Robbie Reyes is like the new Ghost Rider because it's a spirit of vengeance. It enters one person and it's like it just goes to the next person. And he's got a hot rod, a car instead of a bike. But it's still Ghost Rider. Still counts.
When did the 4th season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. come out? We're getting off topic again.
I was gonna say, can we not talk about Marvel for the?
Let's the Shadow Link.
Capcom just has this really shitty practice with their fighting games of withholding content to DLC, and that was the problem with Infinite 2, and that's the problem with Street Fighter V 2.
This isn't fucking 2019 in video games.
Yeah, we're not talking about Capcom.
Okay.
Like your
It's
year,
time,
2019.
It's time to end the tangent. Okay. Alright. 2019 was really good. It started off really strong. Travis Strikes Again, Resident Evil 2, which I didn't play until last month, so not really, but Travis Strikes Again, Devil May Cry 5, made the year for me. I was set then. And then the rest of the year happened, and it was kind of okay. For me, at least. I didn't really like very many games that I played too much. I liked Pokemon. I didn't love it, but I liked it a lot. Fire Emblem, I both love and hate. But generally, like, in terms of games that are just kind of made for me, I got 2 out of 3, so I'm good.
A 10. Give it an arbitrary score.
It was better than 2018. Way fucking better than 2017. Oh god, I have this love-hate relationship with Nintendo, where I hate most of their games. And I'm on the Nintendo channel, so that's fun. But I liked 2019 a lot better than 2018 and 2017. I don't know about 2016, but actually nothing really happened. 2019 was the best game year in a while. Wow.
Yeah, well, all right.
This decade sucked.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Spazzy, you're next.
It was a good year. Speaking of Nintendo, I think Nintendo had a pretty good year. There's a lot of games we didn't even talk about that I plan on buying Mario Maker 2 at some point. Still haven't played it. Here it's great. I plan on playing Dragon's Quest 11 sometime. Still haven't really played it. Here it's great. I think this year is a weird one because it was a really solid year from beginning to end with games, but there are very few, and you saw this in the Game Award, there's very few, there's a lot of B+ games, you know what I'm saying? But there's very few games that kind of elevated beyond as this is the game that defines the year. But there were so many other games that were just kind of quality games that I think overall it was a really solid year.
And if you had to give it an arbitrary score out of 10?
I don't know, 8.
Okay. All right, now you Colin.
This year wasn't super hype because all the hype had been drowned out by everyone going, wow, next year is going to be way better. But I still think this year was really good for games of lesser genres that don't really get a lot of coverage. And so a lot of games that came out this year were not your kind of a typical cookie cutter. It was just just more unique, more all-around original. So I really liked it. So even though there wasn't really there was a ton of really good stuff, even though none of it is best of the decade material, though a lot of it does inch very close to it, I still really liked this year, and I liked playing games in it. And yeah, I would give it an 8 out of 10. That's what every game this year got.
Yeah, I agree with you in that this year was a good year for lesser talked about genres and series getting focus, because most of the big heavy hitters, with the exception of Pokemon and the usual annual ones like Call of Duty, didn't happened this year. Really, there was no Mario, there was no Zelda. There was. That's not true.
Oh my god, there was
But
no
there was like
Assassin's
the Zelda
Creed.
games were like the Zelda games were significantly smaller scale than the usual ones, and the Mario games were all pretty much spin-off titles with no mainline game in sight. And I feel like it's the same on the third-party scale. I feel like the Xbox got Gears 5,
Oh right.
Crackdown 3, and like if Crackdown 3 counts as a main game or not. It got no Halos. Like that was it. And then Sony on the flip side, I mean, last year was such a strong year with Spider-Man and God of War, and this year they got.
Days Gone.
Did Sony get us exclusive this year?
Days Gone.
Yeah, Days Gone. So
Days
but I
Gone is
mean-
like a parody to me. It's like it encompasses everything from the last decade of Sony exclusives, and it does like nothing like special. It's just like a generic cookie cutter, like third person, open worlds, cinematic experience. I love Sony exclusives.
This is where I go the complete opposite direction to Matt, where I feel like compared to the last 3 years, 2019 is like significantly lower. Like there's been significantly less impactful games. I mean, 2016 had Doom, Valhalla, Tokyo Mirage Sessions,
Oh no, I'd
Kirby
say I
Planet,
like.
Kirby Planet Robobots, which is like the best Kirby game.
I mean, I don't know about 2017 because that's like a whole battleground for people. But like, I significantly liked games from this year way more than last year. I didn't think like as much as like I'll put it this way. Last year had like all of like the Oscar bait games, like your God of War and your Red Dead Redemption 2. But this year had like the auteur video games. You know what I mean? Like
You know what? Yeah. Okay. All right. Actually, yeah. I'll
You're
check.
trying to
It
say
had
that
like
sort of.
it had like the big brain 600 IQ games.
I'll flip that around a bit there. I'll alter that slightly. This year and last year are very similar for me. Like this year had games like Cadence of Hyrule and Barbar is Due. Last year had titles like Celeste and Astrobot Rescue Mission, which is like my favorite VR game. Like we got a Yoshi game this year. We got a Kirby game last year. We got Spyro Reignited, which actually I really, really enjoyed more than I was expecting to. And obviously Smash Brothers for us was last year. Like, and Dragon Quest XI was technically last year, even though I'm only playing the port of it this year. Like, these last 2 years are pretty similar, but I don't think either of them are as good as 2017 and 2016. I mean, 2017 is the obvious battleground of it. Did you like Breath of the Wild or not? Did you like Nier Automata or not? Did you like Persona 5, Sonic Mania, etc., etc.? And like I thought 2017 and 2016 were really strong years. 2017 for Nintendo, 2016 not for Nintendo. And then these last 2 years have just been kind of the same-ish. With this year, you're right, being more of a focus on the lesser, like the not the major series, and then last year being a bit more Oscar baity, but still with some good lower titles in there. But yeah, I think because of that, I think this year's kind of like a 6 out of 10 for me. I still haven't played some of the big, like I still need to play Resident Evil 2 and all that, but I feel like it's the same. Like this year, I played a bunch of games that came out last year, so and I think it's just always going to be like that. So yeah, cool. I think then it's good time that we can start wrapping this up.
I guess
With,
next week we'll do
Yes.
next week we'll do the game of the decade memes.
Yeah, well, we can do Game of the Decade, or we can do the looking forward to 2020
I mean, we could do
one,
both.
because who knows?
I guess it
potentially we could
depends.
get a direct.
I guess it depends on that, wouldn't it?
Oh, good. If we do
We'll
Game
see
of the
what-
Decade, I can get into all of my thoughts on The Last of Us, which I just finished playing.
Yeah. So what we'll talk about, we'll do a decade one and we'll do the 2021, depending on whether or not we get a Nintendo Direct this week or not. Although, just still keep with the 2019 stuff, shortly after this is going to be done, we'll be releasing our sort of official 2019 Game of the Year video. which I've been working on and would have been out a few weeks ago if I didn't end up bedridden for 2 weeks.
We polled the staff. We got everybody to submit their favorites, and we did the numbers.
We put them together.
Yeah.
Patreons also contributed.
I did not vote once. 'Cause I don't think I played any games this year.
I think you did vote at least one. Like for
Did
one
I? I
game.
may have voted for like
so.
one thing.
There's a few people who only voted for one game.
My
didn't play
game of
enough
the
games
year
from
is
this
Super
year.
Smash Brothers DLC.
But that video will be coming out in very shortly. Depends on when I get the final thing I need to publish it.
Matthew Rondello kind of likes Last of Us. Hey, I kind of like it too. I kind of also think it's a deeply flawed game. I'll talk about it sometime.
Yeah, when we do the game of the decade, we'll spend a good 30 minutes talking about why Last of Us is actually terrible.
Bye!
But until then, thanks for tuning in to listen to us talk about last year.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting us know what your top games of the last year were and all that. And anyone listening to this not live, why don't you let us know in the comments
Yeah.
what your 2019 games were as well. Anyone else got any final things to say before Matt logs us off?
No, I think that's it.
Play Blood and Truth.
Yeah.
All right. If you like what we do here, you want to support us, you want to see us make more, please consider dropping us $1 or $2 or more on Patreon. You can find us links in the description below. You can also donate to our Streamlabs account, also in the description. Every little bit helps. Thank you so much for watching, and have a very nice day. Goodbye.